Waterfalls in the United States are more than scenic interruptions in a hike. They are living cross-sections of geology and climate, glacial valleys that funnel snowmelt, volcanic plateaus cut by rivers, limestone shelves that build terraces grain by grain, and coastal mountains that wring rain from ocean air. To travel by waterfalls is to travel by watersheds, and to learn how the continent moves water from high places to the sea. What follows is a field guide in narrative form. Standout falls across the country, how to reach them on foot, where to stand for the best viewpoints, and how to photograph them with intention. Begin in Yosemite National Park, California, where the waterfall experience is inseparable from the shape of the valley itself. Yosemite Falls is among North America's tallest, dropping in 3 sections from the rim of the famous granite amphitheater. The easiest, most rewarding approach is the Yosemite Falls Trail to Columbia Rock for a strong mid-level viewpoint. Continue to Upper Yosemite Fall if you want a strenuous climb with big payoff. Spring is prime, usually April through June, when snowmelt turns the falls into a roaring white column. By late summer, flow can shrink dramatically. For photographs, morning light works well from the valley floor near Yosemite Valley Lodge, while late afternoon can backlight spray into rainbows. Bring a lens cloth. Mist is part of the composition. Still in the Sierra, but with a very different personality, Vernal Fall and Nevada Fall on the Mist Trail offer the country's classic walk into the spray experience. The route is steep and often wet, especially on the stair sections beside Vernal Fall. But it's also one of the most kinetic waterfall hikes in America. Granite underfoot, thunder in your ears, and water in the air. Visit in late spring or early summer for maximum flow. In winter, ice can make the trail hazardous, and closures are common. Photographers should consider a polarizing filter to reduce glare on wet rock and deepen the green of the forest. If you want silky water, use a neutral density filter and a stable stance. The mist will challenge long exposures. From granite to basalt, the Pacific Northwest's waterfalls are shaped by lava flows and relentless rain. In Oregon's Columbia River Gorge, Multnomah Falls is the iconic 2-tier drop that seems designed for postcards, complete with a historic footbridge. It is also heavily visited, so timing is everything. Arrive early in the morning or near dusk to avoid crowds and to get calmer compositions. The paved approach is easy, and the bridge viewpoint delivers a dramatic mid-fall angle. For a broader frame, the lower plaza gives you the full height. For a quieter experience, continue up the trail beyond the bridge toward the upper viewpoint, where the falls feel less like an attraction and more like a river in freefall. Overcast days are ideal for photography here. Soft light, fewer harsh highlights, and richer greens. Washington's Mount Rainier National Park offers a waterfall that feels like it belongs to a more secret world. Christine Falls. It's not the tallest, but it is among the most photogenic because the roadside stone bridge frames the cascade like an archway in an old storybook. The short walk from the pullout makes it accessible, and the best photo spot is slightly downstream, where you can align the bridge and the falls in one composition. Late summer and early fall can offer pleasant conditions and lower crowds, but spring brings stronger flow. Use a wide-angle lens and watch for slippery rocks near the water. For raw scale, turn to the Pacific's northern edge. Alaska's Tongass National Forest and the trail to Nugget Falls near Juneau. Here, the waterfall drops beside Mendenhall Glacier, and the pairing is the point. Liquid water and ancient ice sharing the same valley. The hike is easy and well-traveled, and the best viewpoint is near the beach at the lake's edge, where you can include the glacier in the background. In summer, long daylight hours allow flexible shooting, but bring rain protection for your gear. Southeast Alaska's weather changes quickly. A telephoto lens can isolate the falls against blue glacier ice, while a wide lens captures the broader glacial landscape. Now shift to the Mountain West, where waterfalls often appear as brief, spectacular events tied to snowpack. In Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming, the lower falls of the Yellowstone River is the centerpiece of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, a waterfall framed by volcanic cliffs stained yellow, rust, and white by hydrothermal alteration. Rather than a single hike, Yellowstone offers a network of viewpoints. Artist Point is the classic overlook, and it deserves its reputation. You can see the falls and the canyon in one sweeping frame, especially beautiful in early morning. For a more immersive angle, the Uncle Tom's Trail area has historically provided a steep descent toward the canyon. Access can change with maintenance, so check current conditions. Late spring and early summer bring the strongest flow. For photography, the canyon's bright mineral colors can trick your exposure. Bracket shots or watch your highlights to preserve detail in the water. In Montana, Glacier National Park's waterfalls are often embedded in longer alpine hikes, but Virginia Falls on the St. Mary and Virginia Falls Trail offers a satisfying middle ground. The route is moderate, passing smaller cascades and forested stretches before reaching the main falls. Summer is the most reliable season, though early summer can still bring high water and wildflowers. The best photo compositions come from the side angles near the base, where the falls split over rock shelves. A slightly elevated position helps show the layered structure of the cascade. For an entirely different kind of waterfall, one built from limestone chemistry rather than carved by brute force, head to Havasu Falls in Arizona's Havasupai Reservation. Here, mineral-rich water deposits travertine, creating vivid turquoise pools and pale terraces that look almost unreal in sun. Access requires careful planning. Permits are mandatory and in high demand, and the hike in is long and hot, typically about 10 miles each way to the village and campground area with little shade. The reward is a waterfall landscape that feels like an oasis system rather than a single viewpoint. The best times to visit are spring and fall for cooler temperatures. For photography, midday light can make the water glow, but it also creates harsh contrast. Early morning and late afternoon soften the canyon walls. Respect the community and local rules. This is not only a destination, but a homeland. In the Midwest, waterfalls are often smaller in height but rich in intimacy and seasonal drama. Minnehaha Falls in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is an urban waterfall with cultural resonance. A 53-foot drop in a city park, celebrated in local lore and famously evoked in Longfellow's 19th-century poem that helped popularize romanticized images of the region. The walk to the falls is easy and accessible, and winter transforms it into an ice cathedral with frozen curtains and blue shadows. Photographers can take advantage of winter's low crowds and sculptural forms. Use a faster shutter if you want to capture dripping water against ice, or a tripod for longer exposures in the dim light. Further south, the Great Smoky Mountains on the Tennessee-North Carolina border offer classic Appalachian cascades. Laurel Falls, near Gatlinburg, is one of the most accessible. A paved, moderate trail leads to a photogenic split waterfall. Because it is popular, early arrival matters. For a more immersive hike, Abrams Falls in Cades Cove requires a longer, moderate trek through forest to a wide, powerful cascade that pours into a deep pool. The Smokies are famous for biodiversity and moisture. After rain, the forest seems to breathe. Autumn brings color, but also crowds. Spring brings wildflowers and lively flow. For photography in dense woods, steady your camera and watch for bright patches of sky that can overexpose and flatten the scene. In the Northeast, glacial history and steep river gorges create waterfalls that feel tucked into old stone. Watkins Glen State Park in New York is a masterclass in waterfall accessibility. A gorge trail with stone steps and bridges passes multiple falls in a short distance, including the famous cavern cascade, where the path tunnels behind water. The experience is immersive and often cool even on hot days. Visit on weekdays or early hours to avoid congestion in narrow sections. For photos, embrace the leading lines of the gorge walls and bridges. A wide-angle lens captures the architecture of the place, while a slower shutter speed smooths the water into ribbons. Spring and early summer offer strong flow. Late summer can be lower, but still beautiful. New England's White Mountains deliver another classic, Arethusa Falls in New Hampshire, one of the region's tallest. The hike is moderate, with some rocky footing, and the falls drop in a long, elegant slide that photographs well from several angles. After heavy rain, the flow strengthens dramatically. In winter, ice climbers sometimes appear on frozen sections, turning the falls into a vertical arena. For photographers, overcast weather can be a gift, reducing contrast and revealing texture in both rock and water. If you want a waterfall that feels like a national monument in its own right, Niagara Falls on the U.S.-Canada border remains unmatched for sheer volume and cultural history. The American Falls and Bridal Veil Falls are accessible from parks and promenades, and while you can't hike to solitude here, you can still plan for better viewing. Early morning brings softer light and fewer people. Mist is constant. Protect your gear and embrace the atmosphere. A fast shutter can freeze the chaos of water, while a longer exposure turns the torrent into a luminous sheet. Just remember that wind can push spray onto your lens between shots. Across all these places, the best waterfall visits follow a few practical principles. First, flow is seasonal. Snowmelt peaks in spring in much of the West. Rainfall can revive summer and fall cascades in the east. Winter can turn modest falls into extraordinary ice formations. Second, light matters. Waterfalls often sit in shaded ravines. Midday sun can create blown highlights and harsh shadows, while early and late light, or bright overcast, tends to produce more balanced images. Third, safety is part of the landscape. Wet rock, undercut edges, and swift currents are common hazards. Stay on established trails and respect barriers. The most memorable photo is never worth a risky step. Finally, remember that each waterfall is a meeting point of water and rock, of climate and season, of human curiosity and the patience of landscapes. Some are reached by paved paths and historic bridges, others by long desert hikes or alpine trails. Taken together, they form a portrait of the United States that is best understood on foot, one viewpoint at a time, with the sound of falling water as your guide.